Well, hello, good morning everybody. Welcome back, Jiu-Jitsu 2000. I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about Alone Season 3, Episode 9. If you haven't seen that video, that episode, the name of the episode is The Point of No Return. If you haven't seen that, please turn this video off. This will contain spoilers. I have a feeling that this is going to be a long video. A lot of stuff happened, and I have a lot to talk about. I have a lot of notes written down here. So the first thing, let's get right into it. The first thing is, like always, there's a quote on the screen, and it says, "Being alone is scary, but not as scary as feeling alone," by Alma Earhart or something like that. Let's move forward. Day 73, 8:58 in the morning. 4 people left. We're talking about Fowler. He says it's time to get up and get the fire stoked for the day. He's went 41 days keeping the fire going without using his ferro rod, his fire starter, as he put it, because he banks the fire. That's smart. That's very smart. And then there's an annotation on the screen. It says, to bank a fire, you partially cover the coals to slow down the burning process. This makes a fire safer to sleep next to, and it conserves fuel. So Fowler decides that he's going to go fishing, and the current temperature outside is 31 degrees. So let's move forward. 10:33 in the morning. We're still talking about Fowler. He's down there by the shore getting ready to do his fishing stuff, and he decides to make a fire. He actually brought a piece of wood that looked like it was smoldering, which was really smart. He's carrying the fire with him, and he's taking it down there. It's being a little bit difficult for him to start, which is understandable. There is a annotation that comes on the screen, and it says, without sufficient calories, the body will decrease production of the neurotransmitters serotonin. Then Fowler's trying to get this fire going, and he gets frustrated. Who wouldn't? I mean, I'd be frustrated. It's day 73 and he's having trouble. It's cold outside and he's hungry and all these other things. And he says, forgive me for the temper tantrum. In my opinion, I don't think he even threw one, unless he did and they didn't air that footage or something. Now, at this point in the game, he's just back and forth. He says he's hungry and he's weak. And then another annotation on the screen, it says low levels of serotonin can cause mood swings, anger, and depression. Now, Fowler says that he's still having fun, that he's still doing cool things, but he'd rather be at home with his family. 73 days, over 2 months. He goes out on his pier and he catches a fish. And then he lost the fish. He lifted his pole up to try to bring it to the shore. Fish fell off and he got frustrated. He got pissed. And I would too. You're hungry out there. And he got really down on himself. He got upset with himself, like, I shouldn't have done it that way, and just really beating himself up. And again, I think that's, like they said, serotonin causes anger and depression and things like that. So let's move forward. We're still on day 73. It's a little bit after noon. We're talking about Megan. There's 4 people left. So the screen shows her sitting in her shelter with her fire. It's cold outside right now. Not just for her, but for me too. She says she's thinking about swimming in chocolate pudding. And so she decides to get up and go check her fish traps. And she's got a fish. And I'm excited for her. She's got a fish. It's a nice rainbow, and she uses a rock just like Callie did to kill the fish. Very smart, very effective. And she said there's more gills for the bait. So she's going to use the gills for bait, which is, again, that's smart. And she decides that she's going to save some of the eggs as well. Now there's an annotation on the screen, and it said Megan uses the roe, which is the eggs, as bait because it attracts spawning male fish. So she checks another line, and there's a second fish. It was tight. And I was like, wow, 2 fish in one day? She said maybe she's getting the hang of this fishing thing. So she goes to check another line, a third line, and then there's another fish. Wow. Now my thoughts, I'm thinking that it's paying off for her because she has set multiple lines. So she's got 3 fish in one day. That's pretty impressive. She's gonna eat tonight. She said she wasn't expecting that, and honestly I wasn't either. Then a boat comes by. She thinks that it's a routine health check. And then another annotation comes on the screen. It says, Alone's medical team periodically checks the participants' vitals throughout their stay. This is to ensure they're healthy enough to continue without suffering irreparable harm. Now, the first thing they do is she gets on a scale, weighs in. She's 105 pounds. There's an annotation on the screen. 105 pounds. Megan is 20 pounds lighter than her initial weigh-in. Now that surprises me, because it's day 73 and she's only lost 20 pounds. That means she's been doing very well. Either she's not very active or she's eaten a lot of food. I kind of think the first one, she's not being very active, which is smart on her part. Then another annotation says Megan's blood pressure is normal. So she said she's back down to her marathon running weight. She says she's so happy she's healthy and so lucky to be here. She says, and I'm quoting her here, she says, this journey has such a profound meaning to her. Just putting your own limits to the test, not being completely cocooned. I'm proud of myself to make it this far. Food definitely makes things so much better. And then it shows her, she's sitting next to the fire, next to the shore, and she's got her pot, and she's eating some fish. Then the screen, and that's the end of Megan for now. Let's move forward. Day 73, 2:15 in the afternoon. 4 people left. We're talking about Dave. He's sitting in his shelter with the fire going, and he's just sitting there. He's like this. He's just like out of it. And then he kind of springs back to life, so to speak. And he says that he passed out a little bit there. Wow. I'm concerned. He looks thin. And he says, and I'm quoting him, I'm feeling a whole new level of hunger. It's also an opportunity to understand that hunger and figure it out and to be with it. I'm learning to be okay with hunger. Back home, I try to do vision quests every 6 months. 2 or 4 day vision quests where I just go outside and learn from the land. Now there's an annotation on the screen and it says vision quests are attempts to communicate with the spirit world through fasting, prayer, and isolation. And he says he's finding himself just raw, spiritually raw. It's like everything's vibrating. He's kind of tripping out because he's looking at the trees, and he says, I can see the trees breathing. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre place. So he decides to go fishing. He's very hungry. He says he hasn't eaten for a while. His body needs nutrition. Now, me personally, I think he's fallen apart. And I mean that with every bit of respect. I'm not discounting him. I'm just making an observation of what I see as a viewer and what's on the screen. That's all I'm doing. I love Dave. I think he's falling apart. I feel like he's gonna get medically pulled. I just got this feeling. I'm sad. Then the show moves on, and it shows him back on day 67, and he's talking about having 33 fish fillets. And he talked about, eating one every other day. He could go for at least 2 months and things like that. Now, again, back to me, I'm wondering if he's eating them. I wonder if he's just rattling them or if he's actually doing his plan. Then another annotation comes on the screen and it says, starvation can cause biological and psychological changes in a person, leading to food hoarding. That's exactly what he's doing if he's not eating the fish. I don't know. Only he knows. Maybe he's trying to, I really don't know. None of us do. Only he knows. And then it shows him walking around on the shore, and I noticed another thing. He's having problems with his balance. His foot is like stepping on a rock, and he's almost twisting his ankle, and I'm kind of noticing this because he's got his camera on his head. He says, and I'm quoting him again, "It's amazing how breathing is so difficult when you don't have calories." And now he says that he's going to move nice and slow today, which is smart. Very good plan. He has a GoPro, like I said, head mounted. I don't know if it's a GoPro, but it's an action cam mounted on his head. And he's walking around, and you can hear him just breathing heavy, like he's exhausted. And I noticed it again. His balance. He's just like walking like a zombie. It really concerns me. And then he falls down and he makes a sound like he's in pain. He's like, ah, and the camera, it's kind of a, and the first thought that I had at that moment was, I hope he's okay, and I hope he didn't break his ankle or something like that, twist his ankle or break his leg or something, because I really like him. I really like Dave. And my concern for him at that moment was injury. I don't want to see him get pulled to injury. Let's move forward. Day 73. We're still talking about Dave. 4 people left still. 2:58 in the afternoon. And he said he's had been on a seriously dizzy spell lately. He gets back up from his fall and he has no strength. He can feel his body deteriorating. He said he's lost about 1/3 of his body weight. 1/3 of his body weight. Think about that. That's crazy. An annotation comes on the screen and it says, losing too much weight too fast can lead to death by heart failure or electrolyte imbalance. So he decides to start taking care of his body, he says, and he's eating some of his fillets, those 33 fillets that he had. Now, personally, I think he's smart by doing this. I think he's smart. Another annotation comes on the screen and it says, Dave has been drying and smoking his fish for weeks as he's caught them. This process can preserve them for several months. I've been talking about this all along throughout all my commentary on all of the alone videos I've done. I've always talked about this. Jerking the meat, smoking the fish. And that's what he's doing. So he's got a boiling pot full of water. It's his little teapot that I'm wondering where he got that thing. He's adding things to it. He's adding some greens to it. He's adding some fish to it, and he's making a nice broth, nice food. And he said that he likes to boil it for a while. He said he likes to let the nutrients come out, and then he kind of jokes, and he says this like a woman's voice on a cooking show. He says, you must boil the ingredients into the stew to make a beautiful broth. And I'm laughing because that makes me happy to see that he still has his sense of humor. He's not losing it up here completely. He's still laughing and having a fun time, even though he's struggling. And he says, seriously though, it's good. And then I'm quoting him again. He says, I came out here to go through an evolution. I want to go to the next step. my own personal evolution. Out here, I'm learning so much about myself. I don't want to leave here until I feel really ready. So after eating, he says, "Oh my, I needed that so bad." Now here comes the medical team in a boat. He gets on the scale, he weighs in. An annotation comes on the screen. And it says, at 121 pounds, he's 42 pounds since his initial weigh-in. That's crazy. Now I'm looking back to see what Megan weighed in at, because I was surprised she didn't lose that much weight. He is 121 pounds. What was she? I know I said it a minute ago. She's 105 pounds, so he's getting thin. Wow, he looks thin. His blood pressure was 80/60. There's an annotation on the screen. It says Dave's blood pressure is below normal. Then they pull up the backside of his shirt, and that's that classic scene. And he's skin and bones. And when they put the stethoscope on his skin, it must have been cold, because he goes, must have been cold on his back. Now they're talking amongst themselves about him in another language. My initial thoughts when I watched the episode is they're gonna pull him. I had a gut feeling, and I was sad. And then the screen shows him, they're filming him, and I think he knows this. That's just my opinion. And then one guy from the medical team is telling the other one his problem is that his blood pressure is too low. It's at the lowest point that his body can take. So his body is going to starvation. So he should go home. And Dave says, "No, I've got food. I can continue to eat." And then a woman's voice comes on and says, and I'm quoting, "You are risking organ failure, and so we need to pull you." Dave says, "No, I've got food. I can eat. I got food. I have food. I can continue. I can eat higher percentages of the food that I have." Back to the woman's voice. "You're too far gone. It's dangerous for you to stay here. We're taking you to a hospital." Man, I feel for him. And Dave cries. I would too. I'd be a basket case if they pulled me like that. And honestly, that could happen to me if I ever get on a future episode, because I don't believe that I will quit. I just don't think I will. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out if I ever go, if I quit or not. I don't think I will. So very humbly he says, "Okay." This, in my opinion, is so hard for him. It would be like having your heart ripped out of your chest. I wish I was on my Unfiltered channel right now, because I'd like to express a lot more of what I'm thinking. I feel that this is a bittersweet moment for Dave. Bittersweet for him. And that's how I would want to go. It's bitter because his journey's over. But it's sweet because he never quit. Now I'm going to quote him again. "I wish I would have ate more. I've got so much food. I thought that if I stored this food, that I'd have the ability to continue for a long period of time. But I pushed myself a little bit too far. It's frustrating. I feel frustrated. I had enough food that I could last 2 more months. And even if he doubled up on his rations, he could have made it another month and ate even better. 2 more months, being outdoors, playing, learning. I can't believe that I'm going home. I feel good about my life at home. Everything's nice and I enjoy it, but there's moments where there's just something missing. And being out here, I feel like I'm living life. And life has a higher resonance. It's been an honor. It's been beautiful. Man, I can connect with him. I feel him. I feel what he's saying. In my opinion, he went out on his shield like a champion. He never quit. There is no quit in that man. Mental toughness forever. Tons of respect. Tons of respect. And during that transition of them pulling him, they're kind of showing his camp and showing his shelter, and he made some really nice wood carved chess pieces. And I'm frustrated. I love this show and I'm passionate about every single one of them. Let's move forward. Day 73. Unfortunately, 3 people left. 3:53 in the afternoon, we're talking about Carly. She's the only one left that was in my top 4 picks because they just pulled Dave. Him and Carly were in my top 4. She's sitting in her shelter by the fire. And I'm quoting her. She says, "I look forward to using modern technology when I get back, like phone calls, Skype, and FaceTime with my mom." And she's definitely getting tireder, she says. But her focus is to stay busy and keep making things. Otherwise, she'll drive herself batty. She says she'd like to make a drum. An instrument, right? Then there's an annotation on the screen and it says, physical activity releases powerful chemicals called endorphins that lift your mood and provide energy. She's making a circle for the frame of her drum. And I noticed she's using a very smart, very good technique by batoning her axe. Okay, so for those of you who don't understand batoning, she's got the blade of her axe sitting on the piece of wood and she's hitting that blade of her axe with a piece of hardwood. And I thought that was smart. And she's doing that to cut the pieces for her drum. I'm quoting her again. She says, "Doing big projects is wearing me down a lot quicker than it did earlier on. But joy comes from making things. I'm so thankful for the hide that I found." And then the screen shows that she found a hide on day 2. It was a dead cow. So she put the hide in the water to wet it, and now she's twist drying it between 2 trees using a ridge pole. So she's got 2 trees, she's got a ridge pole, and she's draped the hide over the pole and she's twisting it to dry it. There's an annotation on the screen and it says, animal hide is pliable when it's wet and tightens as it dries. And then she's talking again. She says, as a teenager, my mom was really relaxed about letting me work on hides in the house. One time she let me brain tan a deer hide in the bathroom. And there's an annotation on the screen and it says, brain tanning is the process of preserving hides with a combination of water and brain tissue. And then back to Carly, she says, I remember I had to clean it up afterwards, but she let me do it. That's cool of her to share such an intimate memory. Moving forward, day 74, 10:25 in the morning, 3 people left talking about Fowler. He digs up some roots and he's thinking about eating them, but he decides to wait, to hold out, because he's not quite sure what type of roots they're from, because there was no leaves. He knows some of them are dandelions, but he doesn't know what all of them are, so it's kind of concerning him, which I thought was smart. He's very hungry. And then there's an annotation on the screen and it says both safe and toxic roots are growing near Fowler's camp. And he doesn't trust eating them just yet. He's going to see if he has a fish. And he goes out to his pier, to his dock, and it's underwater. Another annotation on the screen says wind and barometric pressure changes can produce waves in enclosed bodies of water. This phenomenon is known as a seach. I hope I'm saying that right. So he checks his lines, no fish. So he decides to cut an 8-inch log. Not 8 inches long, I'm talking 8 inches diameter, a very long log. Maybe 15, 20 feet long. And he's going to put that on his dock to raise the platform up 8 inches. And he's running out of energy and he's weak and feeling it in his muscles. And then there's another annotation on the screen. It says Fowler's body is breaking down muscle to use as fuel due to his lack of calories. Now, let me talk real quick. I've been saying this also all along. Your body will be at a calorie deficit and it will cannibalize fat, then it will cannibalize muscle, which is what Fowler's going through right now. And unfortunately, Dave was in the process of starting to cannibalize vital organs. Wow. Back to Fowler. We're still on him. He says he's going to continue going downhill if he doesn't find something to eat. His dock looks really nice, and the log was a good addition. I feel that the log was a good addition to him, to his dock. Moving forward, day 74 still, 12:23 in the afternoon, 3 people left. We're talking about Carly, and I'm quoting her, getting thin, needs to work on eating a whole lot. If I can get some good animal protein, I can keep going. Plants have a lot of great nutrients, but I don't know how many calories they have to give me. Right now I feel like I'm living each day as if it could be my last day. She's breaking down. All of them are breaking down. It's raining outside, so she decides to spend the day inside her shelter. So she's working on her drum. I'm going to get the holes punched in it. So she's using a bone to punch the holes. There's an annotation on the screen. It says Carly has made this tool from a bovine femur, part of the skeleton that she found when she found the hide. She has 40 to 50 feet of rawhide lacing cut. Carly sliced strips from the leftover pieces of cowhide to create rawhide lacing. Now I noticed something in the background. She had a nice little basket hanging in her shelter, and I always wondered when she was going to make that basket, because in her casting video she said that she would probably do that. Well, she did. She made a nice little basket. And her drum looks nice. I'm quoting her again. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I'm still in it. Still enjoying being here. But I'm just really worried that my body is going to be the Achilles heel of this adventure. And we just saw that in Dave. Good Lord, I'm concerned. And man, there's only one more episode after this, and then they'll have another episode, which will be a reunion episode, I believe. Let's move forward. Day 74, 3:43 in the afternoon. We're talking about Megan, 3 people left. She says she's going to make a wood hammock. Says it's half the battle out here is just keeping the boredom at bay. So she's staying busy. Keep yourself busy. Her hammock looks nice. There's an annotation on the screen and it says hammocks were first used by the Mayans 1,000 years ago. She's sitting in the hammock and it holds her weight just fine. It looks effective and it looks relaxing. Let's move forward. Day 75, 9:37 in the morning. Carly, 3 people left. She says, I'm feeling tired today, but I'm excited about the drum. She's in her shelter, and I think it's still raining outside. She's missing her friends and her family, and she wants to be the last one out here. She wants to be the first woman to win alone. She wants to be a positive role model to the female youth, and I think all the women have already done that by far, my opinion. Let's move forward. Day 75, 11:55 in the morning. We're talking about Megan. 3 people left. She's going to go foraging. She's looking for mushrooms. She finds some and starts, she's just hand to mouth, literally. And it's an orange colored mushroom. And there's an annotation on the screen, and it says orange pill lichens, I hope I'm saying that right, contain some carbohydrates but are low in calories. Then she finds some rose hips. Another annotation on the screen says rose hips, the fruit of the rose plant, contain fiber, vitamin C, and vitamin K. She says the thing about foraging is that it kind of takes my mind away from how much I miss my family. She says she better be careful eating these rose hips because they have a lot of hard seeds in them. And now, I just mentioned what she said about staying busy and foraging and all this keeps her from thinking about her family. I honestly thought that was going to be her downfall early on in the show, and I was completely wrong, wasn't I? She's in the top 3. Wow. So let's move forward. Day 76, 4:24 in the morning. Megan, 3 people left. It's raining real hard outside. She has pain in her tooth and she thinks it might be swollen. She's wondering if her molar is cracked. And I think she said she was missing a piece of it. That could be bad. That could be a game changer for her. We have Fowler, we have Carly, and we have Megan. Honestly, I could see any of the 3 winning. If she's got tooth problems, it could be a game changer. She could quit. They're all breaking down. Let's move forward. Day 76, 10:26 in the morning. We're talking about Fowler. 3 people left. So he goes on the dock to check the line. He finds that his hook has been stripped of the bait. There's nothing on it. It's starting to tick him off. The water's very choppy. He's getting frustrated. There's an annotation on the screen and it says strong winds from the west are typical during Patagonian winters, causing lakes to be choppy. He's frustrated. I would be too. We're on day 76 and there's no fish. And he says ever since these waters have risen, he hasn't been able to catch a single fish. So he's hungry. We're almost done. Fowler has gone a week without fish. He doesn't know what else to do, he says. So he decides to have grubs. For those of you who don't know what grubs are, they're bugs and worms and things like that. So he's going to have grubs and roots for dinner. And he isn't sure what the roots are. He's desperate. Oh man, I'm getting emotional. He said some of the roots are dandelion and the other ones are from some flowers. He doesn't think it's going to be a problem. And then there's an annotation on the screen. It says dandelion roots are edible but low in nutrients. Now, for the record, you can eat any part of the dandelion. He eats some roots and he says that it tastes like carrots, and he's starting to break down emotionally again. And he's kind of lightly crying. Who wouldn't be? Look at what these people have went through. And he says he should have done that sooner. He said it tastes like carrots. And he's so hungry. He doesn't know how long he can keep going like this. He's at an emotional low right now. Wow. It's mentally crushing him. And he said, and I'm quoting him, and I would say the same thing that he's going to say right now. He says, I wish the others would just hurry up and quit. I want to win so bad. Wow, that was kind of a long-winded episode, wasn't it? A lot happened. So folks, I hope you got some good, useful information out of this episode. Please feel free to leave your comments down below. Like this video. Please share this video. And if you like the content that you see on my channel, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Now, until next time, have a beautiful day. We'll see you on the last episode. And if they do the reunion, I'll probably do one on that too. So hope you guys are enjoying these. They do require a lot of work because I write down a ton of notes. You know, just for this episode alone, I wrote like 4 or 5 pages of notes. I mean, I'm starting right here in pink. 1, front and back. 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. But I want to bring you guys good commentary, so I put the work in. Hope you appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. There's a couple more things that I want to say about Dave that I didn't think of when I was out there filming this episode. And that is about the medical staff and how when they came out to intervene, you know, I agree with that decision that the medical staff made. There is no quit in Dave. You know, he's so mentally strong, and I called that accurately from the beginning. That's one of them that I actually got right. And no matter how you want to look at the situation of him getting pulled from the show, it's a bad situation any way you look at it. You know, people can easily go on the attack of the medical staff for ending his journey. People can go on the attack on Dave for not eating the fish. At the end of the day, there is no nice way to do that. I mean, they did a phenomenal job from what I could see. Dave handled it like a boss, like a champion. And I don't really think there's anything else to say about that. I just think that that's a touchy situation when you're pulling someone like that on a medical. But I stand behind that decision. I mean, sometimes you have to protect people. It's like a referee in a fight. You know, you got 2 guys getting after it, you know, and one guy refuses to tap and then he gets his arm broke. Well, that's why referees stop fights. You know, you got one guy getting the crap knocked out of him and he refuses to quit, and so the referee will intervene when the guy's getting hurt. And I think in a lot of ways, the medical staff stepping in to stop this was just like stopping a fight. I mean, Dave was unfortunately at a losing battle at that point on his health, and the medical staff stepped in like a referee would to ensure his safety so that he can come back and live another day and put another smile on his face. And I stand behind that. It was hard, you know, and I can feel the stress and the frustration that Dave must have went through. That's just, you know, such an enormous stress to go through. But again, at the end of the day, I think it was a just decision.